Time once again for a Shelton City Council looking ahead. This time it's Mike Githens. He's Director of Finance for the City of Shelton. And Mike, the reason you're on here, aside from Mark being unavailable today, budget. That's what we're here. That's your meeting on Tuesday is budget centric, I guess you can say, because I'm looking at the council agenda, and more than half of those business items are budget related. So let's talk about the city's budget, because you're getting into the 2024 budget, but it doesn't just start today. It's been ongoing. And prior to when we started this interview, you were talking about when you came on board last year.
Correct.
And how it's progressed. So let's go back to when you started.
Sure. Thank you. So I started last year in August, and the 2023 budget was already well under development. We really start the process probably 6 months before the fiscal year ends in December to start developing it. And of course, when you're new to a position, you're learning a lot of things. Once the 2023 budget was underway, we really realized that we needed to rein in some costs. We needed to really look at budgeting ongoing expenses to match our ongoing revenue. So we've done a lot of work in 2023 to prepare for the future, to match those expenditures to our ongoing revenue. In 2023, we worked with Financial Sustainability Task Force, which was comprised of some members of the community who advised us on really taking a look at the future of the sustainability of, in particular, the general fund, which funds those services such as public safety, police, fire, emergency medical services, streets, the animal shelter, all of those kinds of services. So how can we sustain this, as you were indicating, beyond just 2024? And so that's really what feels like just kind of an ongoing work on our budget to make sure that we're providing the citizens of Shelton with a sustainable budget that provides them the kinds of services that keep a city running safely and efficiently. So that's what we'll be looking at with council at the first public hearing on Tuesday evening, November 7th. It's also a chance for the public to give testimony about the budget. We have a proposed 2024 budget that totals $44,064,239 in expenditures across all of our funds. So that includes the general fund, the street fund, and then of course our water, sewer, storm drainage fund, and all of the complexities that are within that. Council has also heard a proposal to look at water and sewer rates and the sustainability of those funds, and really some deferred capital maintenance that needs to happen in our water and sewer funds. And so we're taking a chance to really look at that. One of the things we did in the 2023 budget was we increased the amount of budget for jail services.
Okay.
During the course of the fiscal year, the contract was renegotiated. We have a contract with the Nisqually tribe to use their jail services. We've really got the jail costs at a level that allows our law enforcement to jail those individuals that break the law and need to be held accountable, but is at a level that we can, we believe, sustain and incorporate in the budget. So part of the budget proposal, you mentioned it, it has a lot of parts to it. On Tuesday night's upcoming council meeting, there's a consideration for council in the revenue area to take the 1% increase to property taxes. That's the statutory limit to the amount that we can increase that. Council has also taken some recommendations from given us direction as council, but also from the Financial Sustainability Task Force I mentioned, to look at our business and occupation tax. So what we're really trying to look at is that revenue pie and keep it balanced. So it's not overly heavy in just one area, but it's as much as we can of a complement of different types of revenue. So it's not just hitting one tax type. So they will consider an increase to the business and occupation tax. We're budgeting for what I'm looking at is just the economy as it is today, not taking a downturn because it's difficult to predict that. So we're taking into account that it continues in the same way it does, but we're positioned in a good place that if it does take a downturn, council has policies in place to protect the services that are important. So I think the budget is well thought out. It gives us a lot to do in 2024. There are a lot of capital projects, as I mentioned, in water and sewer. There's some look ahead at and some street projects. One that comes to mind is Olympic Highway North and working to get some state funds. That stretch of pavement needs to be repaved, and so we're looking at that. I think that it'll be an active year for city staff, but it does maintain those services that are important to our citizens. As I mentioned, public safety. It keeps police services intact as they are today. It doesn't increase it, but it keeps it funded at the level it is. And we're also putting some money towards our assets because I think that serves our community well. It's a council goal to make sure that we're taking care of the assets that we've invested in. And by that, I mean a roofing project in a partnership with a grant and the Timberland Regional Library District. It's fixing the deck at the library so that it can be used. So that's in the project for next year. Replacing one police car. That's an investment in, we want to have our officers be able to respond in reliable equipment. And so making sure we're setting some money aside in the assets that our citizens have invested in so that we don't just run them to the end of their life and then have a emergency need for something, but planning for the future. I think that's a big theme of the 2024 budget.
So do you have a number of employees for the city, and is there a change from last year to this year?
There is. So during 2023, we had a supplemental budget that reduced some positions. As I mentioned, we needed to look at the ongoing costs. And so we did reduce some positions. The 2023 supplemental budget brought our positions down from, we started the year with 69.45 budgeted positions. We dropped that to 66.45. We're going to be in a position to start 2024 with 65 and a half approximately positions. So we are down some, but again, we're working really hard to make sure that this budget can live beyond just 2024. And personnel costs are one of our highest costs, typical of many public agencies. So we're trying to live within the means and make sure that when we do ask the public to pay more, that we're showing we're tightening our belt wherever we can to make sure that we can sustain this and not just look to the end of 2024, but we're also planning for getting through the subsequent couple of fiscal years also so that we can make this last. So city staffing is down slightly, but I think we've learned some things and we are really, all of the leadership is working to maximize the positions we have. So the budget has a couple of less director positions. City Manager Ziegler assumed that position, and so we were able to eliminate his former position as Parks, Rec, and Facilities Director and assign those duties, kind of redesign a position to be a supervisor rather than a director. Our
Okay.
administrative services director left, and so we've redesigned that. We've eliminated that director position, and we have now a human resources manager, and then we moved the IT under me in finance. And so we've done everything I think we can to try to reduce some of those costs and really maximize personnel as best we can.
So Tuesday night, you're having the first of several public hearings on this for the public to input at least two times more, right? Yeah.
Right. There'll be the hearing on November 7th, and then again on November 21st as council considers adoption of the budget. And then some other ordinances, as we talked about, for property tax, business and occupation tax. So it's a big November month for budget.
So the B&O tax, what's the increase proposed?
It's currently at 0.01% of gross receipts, and then there's some, limits, thresholds. It's taking it to the statutory maximum that council can. So from 0.01 to 0.02% of gross receipts. So, we did a lot of looking at what other cities do that have B&O tax. There's lots of different kinds of comparisons out there, but what we really looked at is what does Shelton need, and what can we do to try to make sure that we can sustain these services in the general fund at a level that we've heard from people that they want and need. And, public safety is one of the top ones. Having another thing that's included in the 2024 budget is some funds for abatement, so that derelict kinds of properties can be cleaned up. And I think citizens will see that visibly happen in the coming weeks and months. So I think, as much as none of us likes to pay more, we want to make sure that people are seeing the city work for them. I mean, even today, all of our public works staff out making sure roads are drivable in this heavy rain, and clearing leaves and doing all the work that happens on just a daily basis. It's a pretty complex operation when you start to open it up, and we're trying to keep that at that level so people see everything they're doing.
So it's a council meeting at 6:00 Tuesday night. Precede that with a Shelton Parks board meeting. Similar presentation, but just for the Parks Department. And then people get a little confused about that when they walk in and say, why are you doing this now? But you're talking about, you get a budget for the parks, right, and that's actually part of the city budget, right?
Correct. It's a separate taxing district. We're fortunate that the citizens formed this some years ago, Shelton Metropolitan Park District. So that meeting is with a board. It's formed as the board is composed of members of the council, but that's a separate meeting at 5:45. That'll be both, and that's to consider their annual operating budget. It really does, as you mentioned, kind of function as a part of the city budget, but it taxes separately and operates our parks and recreation programs in the city of Shelton.
So that's Tuesday night in the courtroom at the Civic Center. You can attend in person, get on the Zoom link if you don't want to leave your house, but you do want to participate, or you can just check it out on the city's YouTube channel.